Ever wonder why you can put your phone down for work but somehow can't stop checking Instagram? Like, you'll ignore your boss's texts for hours, but the second you see that little red notification dot, you're instantly reaching for your phone. If you think it's because you have no willpower, you're wrong. There's actually some fascinating brain science behind this, and once you understand what's really happening, you can work with your brain instead of fighting it. So here's what happened to my buddy Jake last month. He's a 32-year-old marketing manager in Toronto, super focused at work, runs marathons, has his life together. But he realized he was checking social media over 80 times a day. 80 times. That's once every 12 minutes he's awake. And the weird part? He didn't even realize he was doing it. His hand would just automatically reach for his phone during any tiny break, waiting for coffee, sitting at red lights, even mid-conversation with his wife. Sound familiar? If you're nodding right now, you're definitely not alone. And there's actually a really interesting reason your brain does this. Okay, so here's what's actually happening in your brain. You know that feeling when you're really looking forward to something, like opening a gift or seeing a text from someone you like. That anticipation feeling comes from dopamine. Now here's the interesting part. Your brain releases dopamine when you're about to check social media, not when you're actually scrolling. It's the anticipation that feels good, not the scrolling itself. And here's where it gets really clever. Sometimes you find something interesting when you check. Sometimes you don't. Your brain loves this unpredictability because it keeps hoping maybe this time will be the good one. It's the same reason people get hooked on slot machines. But here's what makes social media different from, say, checking the mailbox. These apps are designed by teams of behavioral psychologists and neuroscientists whose job is literally to keep you engaged. They use something called variable ratio reinforcement, fancy words for sometimes you get rewarded, sometimes you don't, and you never know which time it'll be. This creates what researchers call sticky behavior. Basically, habits that are really hard to break. Your grandparents didn't have to deal with this. Their mailbox wasn't specifically engineered to be as compelling as possible. And then there's what happens to your focus. Research from the University of California shows that every time you switch tasks, like checking your phone in the middle of work, it takes your brain about 23 minutes to fully refocus on what you were doing before. But most of us check our phones way more often than every 23 minutes. So we're basically never in a state of deep focus. We're always partially distracted, always slightly scattered. This isn't about being weak or having ADHD. This is just how brains work when they're constantly being interrupted by devices designed to interrupt them. So here's the good news. Once you understand how this works, there are some simple tricks that actually help. First, the physical distance hack. I put my phone in another room when I need to focus. Not because I have no willpower, but because I know my brain will want to check it. Making it slightly inconvenient gives my conscious mind time to catch up and ask, do I actually need to look at this right now? Second, the notification audit. Turn off every notification except calls and texts from actual humans. Most of those red dots are from apps trying to pull you back in, not actual important information. And here's the thing. You don't need to quit social media cold turkey. That's not realistic for most people, and honestly, these platforms do connect us to people and show us interesting stuff. The goal isn't to never use social media. The goal is to use it intentionally instead of compulsively. Try this. Before you open an app, ask yourself, what am I looking for right now? Sometimes it's entertainment. Sometimes you want to see what friends are up to. Sometimes you're just bored. All of that is fine. But knowing what you want helps you recognize when you've gotten it. So here's what I'm curious about. What's your weirdest social media habit? Like, do you check Instagram while you're already watching Instagram stories on your laptop? Do you find yourself opening the same app you just closed? Drop your confession in the comments. I bet we've all got some weird ones. And honestly, it helps to know other people do this stuff too. And if you try any of these strategies, let me know how they work for you. Everyone's brain is a little different, so what works for one person might not work for another. Next week, I'm talking about why we all became obsessed with productivity culture and whether any of those life hacks actually make us happier. Should be interesting.